Okay, so we worked on touching our partner's fascia, touching the base, our partner pushing on our body, relaxing under their joints and stretching through them. So there's a fascial web connection between us, and there's stress, and we're relaxing that off the muscle onto the fascia. Then we practiced entering the gap, where we compress, decompress, we recognize that gap, and we just move the energy very, very gently through that gap to move the energy with the type of moving the mind like a feather. Now we're going to work on the same principle but inside our body instead of our partner's body. So our partner pushes down onto our base, so we have a tension line from there to there. Now what I want to do is learn how to yield. Now I've got several different ways of yielding. I can mechanically run away from my partner to unlink them from my base. I can relax the muscle and transfer the load onto the fascia. So I relax, drop, and then dig myself underneath them through the fascial web. Or I can recognize that same gap inside them, inside myself, and just relax into that empty space until their base goes. Now, putting the first model of pressure, relaxing into the pressure of the fascia. Now we do that same model, but instead of letting it fall on the fascial web, we want to let it move through that gap between the muscle and the fascia. So as I'm sinking, I'm dropping everything down, but I'm not letting the muscle catch it, and I'm not letting the fascia load too much. There's a small amount of load in the fascia, but not too much. So we went into our partner and into the gap. Now we go through the gaps within our own body and just yield into that space between our muscles and fascia. Then we take the life force feeling, and then we use that life force feeling. We just absorb our partner into the feeling of life force, and we yield into that feeling quality. So we have my partner's pressures, we have my fascial web that's resting on, and then we have the gap between the muscle and the fascia, which is the door to life force. I just relax inwardly into that space. Then once you've worked on relaxing into yourself and softening down, you relax into the space inside yourself and inside your partner, and you can yield in any direction. You can be yielding through that space, forward, backward, into you, out of you. You can do it more as a roll back type of action, and so forth. I don't want you to generate any more force than what's being demonstrated there, because it has to be a quality of mind and release into that gap. So you want to stream all that force on your body into that space, and then absorb it through the feeling of life force, and yield with the mind moving like a feather. You need to start from a place of pressure first, and then release the pressure onto the fascia, and then from the fascia you take it in the gap between the muscle and the fascia and empty it into the life force. And do it very, very, very gently. After you've been playing with it for a while, then you can start moving the mind softly and playing with your partner's balance in whatever direction you want to play with. But initially, we've got to yield in the direction of their force, and then we can yield in any direction we want. So he can be pushing towards me, but I yield straight through him and enter through that gap and just slice through his force. You're always playing a balance game between muscle, fascia, and the gap between the muscle and fascia, which leads into the life force feeling quality, and the mind substance of your awareness, your listening itself. You're always absorbing into the mind. Ultimately, when we look at the vibrational scale, we've got the muscle, then we have the fascia, and we have the life force, and we have the astral, and then we're just into that pure mind substance where you absorb your partner's forces. And the faster you get to absorbing into the mind substance, the better you're going to be at this. There's some schools of Tai Chi that just have a mechanical framework, They absorb everything through relaxation as a perception instead of chi into mind. And they do very, very well with developing empty force. They don't have a chi model at all because they're just absorbing everything into their yi, into their mind intent. And all forces are just being relaxed into their mind. So they're using the same alchemical process without understanding how and why it works. So when you use that type of model, it's very difficult to transfer it into healing skill and transfer it to all other areas of your life where you want to use it. But if you break it down as a metaphysical process, then you can apply it to anything you want because it's just based on the same laws. All right, so partner up and work on that vibrational scale, work on yielding. Thank you.